Makadi, hello. In my native language, I would say to you, Makadi, Masquera say, which in Shona means good afternoon. How has been your day? Today, I would like to share with you the Ubuntu philosophy. Ubuntu ngamuntu ngabantu, which literally translated means a person is only a person through other people. So before we start, I would like you to look to your left and look to your right. And if you don't know the person you are sitting next to, greet them, look them in the eye, introduce yourself, find out their name, find out where they're from, because I want to share with you the Ubuntu philosophy, which is very close to my heart. So my full name is Gertrude Ruadzano Munyaradzi Mache. And I was born in a small village called Wedza on the Eastern Highlands on the border of Zimbabwe and Mozambique. And as you know, Africa is a harsh continent and it prepares you to live anywhere. Up until the 22nd of April, 2001, I had not quite known what my life purpose was. It was 2 weeks before the launch of my first book. And I woke up that morning with words in my head that had to go down on paper. And I went to my computer and I started writing. And I realized at that point that my voice, my body, my very being in this incarnation is only a channel the Creator is using to awaken the world. A lot of people have asked me, Gertrude, are you the typical African woman? I can tell you bluntly now that no, I am not. What I do know is that I was born to be her voice and the voice of her children. You all know the challenges of the typical African woman. We work, we struggle, we bring up our children the best way we can in very, very harsh conditions. And this amazing conference is focused on the needs of children who are on the fringes of society. The Special Needs and Inclusion Education Conference 2022 is really infusing the Ubuntu philosophy in everything we do. I am a part of the Africa Special Needs Network, and it gives me so much pleasure to be able to share with you a little bit of my story, where I'm from, what I stand for, and why I am here today presenting to you at this amazing conference. So, what can we do as people when we see things in our community, in our society that are imbalanced? How can we include those that society pushes to the fringes? Children with special needs, children with disabilities, and bring them into the fold. When I moved to New Zealand 21 years ago, I came alone with my 3 children with $500. I didn't have a job. I didn't know many people. I was in a foreign country all by myself, trying to create a new life for my children. It was challenging, but I succeeded. And I remember Christmas 2004, Oprah went to South Africa. I was having Christmas lunch. I had friends who had come to visit. And a friend called me and said, Gertrude, switch on the TV. Oprah's in South Africa. And she was standing on a soccer pitch full of children. She had 50,000 HIV orphans on that soccer pitch. And there was a point in the show where she opened up her hands and she said, this is the lost generation of Africa. These are children who have lost both parents because of HIV and AIDS. Africa needs help. And I remember calling my mother and asking her how many orphan children we had on my side of the family. My mother reminded me that my grandmother had had 11 children. She had 34 grandchildren. 19 of my first cousins had died of HIV-related diseases. There were 49 orphan children on my side of the family alone. So I took it upon myself to raise money through the proceeds of the sales of my books, to pay for education, to pay for school fees, food, uniforms, to keep the orphan children in my family in school. It turned into a foundation called the Africa Thrive Foundation. And in the last 21 years, I have been responsible for helping educate over 3,000 children in the village where I am from. So why am I telling you this story? My passion is for children. I know that the children that we are educating now will become the leaders of tomorrow. The children we are educating now will look after us in the future. So my motives, my actions are very selfish because I want to make sure that every single African child gets an opportunity to get an education. And why is education so important? Education is the key that breaks the cycle of poverty for anyone, anywhere in the world. I know it did that for me. I ended up going to school, going to university, starting my career in computers, programming computers in 1986, being a first-generation coder. And it changed the trajectory of my life for me to move and live overseas, find work, bring up my 3 amazing children. My children are now 33, 31, and 25. I now have a small grandson who's about 15 months old. And I look back at my life and I realize that I am inside the dream that I had for myself 21 years ago. So let's talk a little bit about Ubuntu and what Ubuntu can do to transform society in very, very small ways. This organization stands to integrate the Ubuntu philosophy in inclusive education. Why is that? It's very, very simple. The pillars of Ubuntu are empathy, connection, compassion, collaboration, and community. And if we infuse all 5 of these pillars in everything we do, we will create a new paradigm that will bring in children who have been excluded from getting education through these very, very basic principles. So I can't stress enough the role of community in the success of everything we're trying to do. Unless the community embraces the children that have special needs, it could be bus drivers taking a little bit of time to let a disabled child get on a bus. It could be the teacher in the classroom spending a bit of extra time with the children that need the extra help. Community is everything in bringing about success. So as a member of the Africa Special Needs Network, I would like to share with you the programs that we have coming up in 2023. Number 1, we are going to be training trainers for caregivers of children with disabilities. We have developed a manual for this, and it will be launched in December during the International Day for Persons with Disabilities on the 3rd of December in Mombasa. We plan to train caregivers at country level right throughout 2023. And our goal is to demystify disabilities at a grassroots level. This in turn will enhance inclusion at the early years at the very early stages of a child's education. Number two, we have created a complete prototype curriculum on inclusion education at the university level. And we hope to adopt this by the Commission of University Education as the standard curriculum. Because it's not just about children in primary school, in high school, it's about those young people who are going into universities as well. The third program, we're going to be mapping a survey of services that are available to children with disabilities right across the country, and what facilities are available for those children. Number four, we want to do a needs assessment of the current institutions and facilities available. And lastly, we want to present these findings to different organizations so that we can find funding and help families and children alike throughout the country. What really excites me about this project is that this is not just about Kenya. Kenya is just the starting point of the work that we want to do to help families and children with special needs. I am hoping that we will adopt this in Zimbabwe. We'll adopt this right throughout the continent, because the African child with a disability is at the most disadvantaged in the world. We all know this. It's bad enough when you are able-bodied and you can do things for yourself, but when you can't, you are totally excluded from the classroom and from getting those opportunities that can enhance your life and literally change your life forever. So it excites me because throughout my career, I have been looking for children with special needs. We have a project in Zimbabwe run by the Catholic Church called Mustard Seed. A lot of the children that we care for are HIV positive. They have physical and mental disabilities. And these children have been dumped at this orphanage because the parents don't have the money to care for them. It absolutely breaks my heart when I see the potential in these kids. Every time I look at the children that I serve, I start to imagine, what if we help raise the future Nelson Mandela for Africa? What if in one of the children that we are serving, we can rear the scientist who will find a cure for AIDS? Our children in Africa need an opportunity to be little children for a while. And it is each and every one of our responsibility to remember that Africa's children are our children. They are all our responsibility as a community. So let's go back to Ubuntu. To install the Ubuntu philosophy into your home, into your community, into your neighborhood, into your school, into your academic institution is very, very simple. Because it starts at home, where you put your family first. Are you paying attention to your husband or your wife? When was the last time you sat down with your children and found out the challenges that they are facing at school? Are you present to the people that you are closest to the most? Then it goes out to your community, your next door neighbor. When was the last time you stopped and said hello and found out what is happening in their lives? When was the last time that you volunteered for a special needs program? When have you given of your time unconditionally to help your community? And then if you've got the bandwidth to do something somewhere else in the world, put up your hand to do that too. We can change the world, one parent at a time, one child at a time, because the world's children are ours and they are our future. So if you forget anything about what I've shared today, take away the principles of Ubuntu. It's empathy, connection, compassion, collaboration, And lastly, community. Without community, we can do nothing. So thank you so much to the organizers of this conference for having me present to you, be it virtually. My hope and my desire is that next year's conference, I'll be there with you in person, celebrating the second year of this amazing conference. Enjoy the day. Take in the information that is being shared by all of the presenters and the speakers, and spread the word so that we can grow as an organization and reach more families, reach more children with special needs, and give them the help and the facilities that they need so they can grow up and reach their full potential. Thank you very much. Ubuntu.